Hey there, welcome to this episode of the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. This one is a cool one. I did a keynote recently, a live keynote recently, talking about how do you transition? How do you quit the habits that you don't want and get the habits that you do want? Let's face it, like I've said over and over again, wealth creation, financial freedom is built on the pillars of good habits, good decisions, and good behaviors. And so in this episode, I'm going to walk you through my framework and the arc of transition and the keys that can help you change the habits from the ones that are keeping you from being financially free to the ones that will get you there. So enjoy this episode. I look forward to seeing you in the episode. Cheers. Hey, y'all. So it's good to be here. And I'm just getting some things set. You know, when this topic came up, I started to look at this and I started to say, what have I quit in my life? And I started to really look at this and say, what if I actually didn't quit anything in my life? What if what it was just stepping stones to where I am in my life? And maybe looking at it through the eyes of everything we do is to move us forward. Everything we do is to progress us. Everything we do, whether it comes to us in a challenge or a battle or greatness, is to move us forward to where we truly belong, to that state of being like Jenna was talking about. And I'm going to bring back the whole idea of daydreaming in a moment, because here's what I think happens is that when we come at life with a curiosity bent, we come at life with the idea of growth. But right now we're in a world of uncertainty. Right now we're sitting back. I mean, some of you are probably feeling it. It's something that is thick out there, this uncertainty and fear even. I just finished a launch that was incredible, but in the conversations I had with so many, they're saddled with fear. They're saddled with stress. They're saddled with anxiety. And what happens is that I think when we start to come at things from a place of neediness or a place of insecurity, neediness leads to stress. Insecurity leads to anxiety, but curiosity leads to growth. And I would ask you, I would invite you to start to look at things and say, can I get curious? Because quitting actually isn't hard, but letting go is. And sometimes we have to let go of what was to bring in what is and what was meant to be. And I remember this coming in to me at one point. I was in a relationship with a wonderful, wonderful lady. It's not my wife, but we weren't right for each other. Maybe you've been in that space. We were not a good match. I couldn't give her what she needed without giving up on my dreams, and she couldn't give me what I needed without giving up on her security. And so there was this friction there. And we stayed in a relationship for 4 years. It was loving, but it was tense. Now we're still dear, dear friends. She's married now to a wonderful man that I know. But I remember a friend looking at me and he says, how long are you going to allow that person to occupy the space in your heart and your life that's meant for someone else? And then he turns around and he says, better yet, how long are you going to occupy the space in her heart and her life that's meant for someone else? And I think that we need to start to evaluate, and Jenna took you through a wonderful framework to look at this, how this is, but I want to look at this through the eyes of growth, through the eyes of transition, to move on to bigger places. And in the end, I'm going to walk you through 6 things that I want you to think about quitting when it comes to your money, and 6 things that I think that you either need to start or continue doing or elevate when it comes to money. So we're going to bring it back to money and finances in the end. But I think let's talk about where some of this comes from and where it plays out. And it wouldn't be a training with me if I didn't have a framework. So I got some frameworks for you, and we'll make sure that we get them to you in in the app and all of that type of stuff. So I first wanted to look at this through the eyes of, okay, when I changed, and I want to look at it and say it's change versus quitting. When I changed something, what was the catalyst? What was the motivator in there? And I think that there's 5 motivators that cause us to start to look at things and say, maybe I need to change some things. Okay. And so I'm gonna jump to the iPad and do this. The first thing is this, is that, and I'm gonna give you 6 or 5 and a few questions to ask yourself as you go through this. Now, I want to come at this from the spirit of growth, not leaving things behind. I don't want you trying to figure out how you're going to exit and leave friends and leave relationships and leave. I mean, there may be a time for that, but let's just figure out where the richness in your life comes from, because it's in that richness. And richness isn't about money. Richness is about how you experience it, how you feel life. And that's one of the critical outcomes to affluence, is to live a richer life. Whether you're an employee or whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a mother, a father, a sibling, richness is in the way you take it in. And so one of the first things that I realized is that at the core, do I need to change because my values? Now, my guess is that pretty much everyone on this training has done a values exercise, but there are so many people that don't intentionally define their values. And so when I look at something in my life, someone in my life, then the question that comes to place here is this question of, is this elevating, honoring, or demonstrating my values? Now, let's touch on this for a moment, because here's what I know. And I tell this to the people that I work with one-on-one. I've told it to my team members. And I said, I don't want to hear about the priorities. I don't really want to hear about the values, because I can see them. If I want to understand your values, I just got to watch your feet. I got to watch your hands. I got to watch your actions. I don't need to watch your mouth. Because there's a whole lot of folks out there that potentially will talk a good game, but let's watch what their actions are doing. You may sit back and say, I want to lose weight. But in the meantime, you've got Snickers bars on the desk and everything. That's great. And there's no judgment there whatsoever. Just be truthful and accept it. There's no we all have our own set of values, but let's live true to what they are. And sometimes things happen in life that allow us to start to reevaluate values, to start looking at things through a different set of eyes, to say, what I thought I was doing back then, I thought was right. It felt right. And so I did it. But today, I have more knowledge. I have more experience. I have experienced life differently. And so my values have shifted a little bit. And therefore, I need to stay in alignment with those values. When we live in conflict with our values, we create stress in our life. Stress is another form of distress. Distress causes illness. Joy comes from living in alignment with those values. Here's another question. It's a sub-question of this that you can ask here, and hopefully this is hitting with you, because what we want to do is at the end of the day, ask this question. Do I have a sense of pride for how I showed up today? Do I have a sense of pride with how I showed up today? And just allow it to inform you, not for judgment purposes, but to inform you. Say, if the answer is no, then maybe why? What is it that I should be looking at differently? How should I be looking at differently? Should I maybe do something different? If I did something, I had an interaction with someone yesterday that I actually wasn't proud of. I wasn't. And I made sure that the first thing this morning, I think I woke him up. I picked up the phone and I called him. And I said, you know what? I don't know that that was the best me yesterday. And I'm sorry. And I hope you'll accept it. And I'll do better next time. Sometimes we have to tell that to ourselves, you know? And so the first thing that causes me to think about change is there a conflict with my values? Second change motivator is a conflict with my well-being. Okay, and I'll talk about this in the sense of a situation that happened with us. Now, we live in a wonderful, wonderful beach community right here in Laguna Beach, right on the water. But prior to that, about 6, 7 years ago, actually right after Stephanie and I got married, we moved into a small community just south of here. Okay, and it was a small community of 51 homes, so it was tiny, but we didn't know it at the time. But everyone was up in everyone's business. Have you ever been in a community where everyone's up in everyone's business? Like if you're doing anything in your house and they're all checking it out and they're going, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then there's the gossip in between. And then there's the whispering when you walk up and all of the craziness in this community. And then, we started isolating. We started saying, I don't feel like going out. I don't feel like walking in the community. And it became so negative energy that it started to affect my relationship with Stephanie, because she knew my filter is about this long. Okay. I think about something, it comes out in here and it comes out. And there's so many times that I thought it was freaking hilarious in between my ears. And when it come out there, no one laughed. I go, God, I thought it was hilarious in here. So she was worried that filter system was going to come to bear on some of the community, because I'm looking at these people and the way they're treating people. And I'm like going, no. And I wouldn't stand for it. Like I drafted an email that was going to the HOA, and it never got sent because I learned, don't just send, don't hit send. And I read it to Stephanie and she goes, oh, you can't send that. You can't send that. I mean, it was so good. I still have it. Okay. But here's the deal. Once we realized it was affecting our relationship, it was affecting our well-being. Once we realized that, we said, it's time to move. It's time to change, because this is unhealthy. We don't feel like going out. We don't feel like communicating with them. We had one set of neighbors that we were right next door to us that we loved. In fact, they moved and we moved to the same community with them. We said, we're coming. All right. You're stuck with us. But now we live in a community where everyone, not everyone, but it's a friendly community. We walk Budo and people are smiling and you're talking. We would have never had that in the other community, just because of the nature of it. And I don't know why it was that way, but all I knew was that it was affecting my well-being. It was affecting our well-being. It was affecting our relations. Time to change. And so we looked at it from that perspective. So if there's something in your life that maybe is affecting your well-being, now it doesn't mean that you quit it. It just means you might have to change it. It means that maybe you move them to an outer circle instead of an inner circle of associates. Maybe it's about having a conversation, but it's about changing and protecting you. You can quiet quit on whatever you want, but you can't quiet quit on yourself, because yourself is coming with you any way you like it. Okay. And I don't buy into the quiet quitting and all that stuff. And so I think that we need to stick through some of the things. That leads me to number 3, change motivation. Now let me give you the question. How is this affecting my well-being? I kind of put it out there already. How is this affecting my well-being? Now, if I'm in a decision mode, what I might do is I would take a piece of paper and I would draw a line down the center and I would say, positive effects, negative effects. And I'd start to weigh it. I'd start to look at it in that light. We even sold the property. I should have kept it in hindsight, but we sold the property because I wanted nothing to do with them. And I go, we left a lot of money on the table in hindsight, but we got our peace back. And that's priceless. And I'm okay with it. So, number 3 is value. Do I get value out of this? Here's the question. Do I value this to the point of loving it or just liking it? Here's what I mean by this. Are there things in your life that you're doing because you like them? And are there things in your life, just like Jenna talked about, the piano, that you absolutely love, that you know you want to do more of, but you're not? See, if it's the things in our life that we love, we ought to be doing those. Finding a way. That's where the richness in life comes from. But we need to then look at it through the eyes of, hey, am I liking this or am I loving it? The love, that's a top priority. The like, we can make some choices around. But I love the fact that she said, you don't quit on a bad day. Because there's plenty of times that you kind of go, I really don't like this right now. But that's right now. Generally speaking, I love everything I do right now. I love the way my life is. I get to serve, I get to give, I get to work with people. I do. Now, are there times that I don't like it? Yeah. You know, tech goes wrong or, all kinds of things that can happen. I sent an email out that was supposed to go to 5 people and went to 35,000 people. I'm going, oops. Yeah, wasn't liking it at that moment, but I still love what I do. And so there's a secondary question here, because I think it's too easy, especially in today's culture, to sit back and say, well, cancel, I'm out. And that second question is this. Ask, why did I start this in the first place? Why? And get reconnected to that why you started it in the first place. Because too often we disconnect and we forget the things that were important to us. Hopefully this resonates with you, okay? Number four. We've completed it. We set out to do something and we're done. So I had a martial arts studio for 11 years. And, inevitably, parents would bring, and it was in a nice neighborhood. So these parents, a lot of parents would literally bring their children in. And it was sad in some senses because they tried to use the karate school, the martial arts studio, as a babysitter, as a daycare. And they would drop their kids off and they would leave them there. And I can't tell you how many times these kids would test for belt ranks and the parents wouldn't be there to watch. I remember a young man now who came to me in tears before his black belt test. And I said, what is going on, Brad? And all he said was, I just want to hear my dad say he's proud of me once. And that pains me. But what ends up happening is that because the parents were bringing children in for purposes of, let them try it. What would happen is they'd stay for a month, and when things got a little tough because it's new to them, they'd say, I want to quit, and they'd quit. And they never make progress. And what we're doing is we're setting a pattern of, well, if you don't like something, quit, instead of working through the challenging times. And so one of the things that I did is I made an agreement with the parents when they brought their kids in. I say, here's what I want. And it'll serve your kids long into this. I said, I don't need them to be black belts. Most of them won't when you look at the percentages. But what I want them to do is to start something and finish something. That's it. So decide, there's all the belts. Just decide with your child what belt. And tell them, you're going to go through this. You're going to stay with it. You're going to commit to it until you get to blue belt, until you get to green belt, until you get to yellow belt. And then you can make the choice. I wish I'd have known. I said, but not on a bad day. Okay? But then you can make a choice, because what happens is that now we have an idea of a point of completion. Now we have an idea where we can say, I came here, I did what I was going to do, and now I can make a different choice if I choose to. Many of them stuck around. But when they stepped into the game, whether it was a job, whether it's in the martial arts studio or what have you, they stepped into it with the intent to stay for a period of time and complete something. The joy and the esteem that came through that completion was dramatic versus coming to something without understanding what completion or success looks like. When I get asked to speak, and Brendan says I get paid well to speak, and I do, and I have a conversation with someone that's bringing me in to speak, I ask him, I said, two things. One, what does success look like for you? And how can I make sure that you look like a star? Because if I can hit those two things, one, they'll be happy to pay the bill, and two, they'll bring me back. But too often we step into something without understanding what completion looks like. Okay? And that leads me to number 5. Number 5, here's the question. Did I do what I came here to do, or what I committed to? I am really, really, to me, commitment, your word is everything. So if you commit to something, we do it, you know? And so number 5 is this: life changes. Yeah, life changes. Things happen. When I got married, so I met Stephanie in an airport, okay? Leaving a Brendan event. I met her in an airport. Some will say it was stalking. I say it was persistence. But we've been married now 11 and a half years. When we met, she was on her way to move to the East Coast to spend a year in the East Coast before she moved to the mothership of the company she was working for in Germany. She had no desire to meet a dude, let alone get committed to a dude. But she turned around. I was able to convince her, just have dinner with me. How bad can it be? There she is now 13 years later. But all of a sudden, her life completely changed. She never went to Germany. She went to the East Coast for a year because she had already committed, live up to the commitments, complete the task, and then move back to the West Coast. But life changed. And so she made a shift. Glad she did, all right? But she made a shift. But it also made a shift in me. And so are there things that happen in your life? The cancer, a marriage, the birth of a child, the birth of my granddaughter and a second granddaughter on the way. All those things will beg the possibility of change, the possibility of doing something different. And so if that happens, and remember, I'm talking about possible change and growth, not quitting per se, but if that happens, there's an arc you're going to follow. And that arc's going to look like this, okay? It's what I call the transition arc, okay? Oh, let's give you the question. Has my life changed that raises the necessity for a change? Has my life changed that raises the necessity for a change? Okay? Not necessarily a desire, but a necessity for the change. Let's look at how this plays out. Let's say that you think that there's something that is a catalyst for change, a catalyst for growth, okay? How this will look is this, is that when we talk about an arc, it starts first with this clarification, okay? In other words, we need to get clear on what, but more importantly, we need to get clear on why. Because what that does is it keeps you from being impulsive. Now, I'm going to bring this back to money, because one of the things that happens, you see the market dropping by 1,000 points or something, then all of a sudden the emotions kick in, you trigger, you're not sure why, you're not sure what, but you say, I'm selling everything, you sit on the sidelines, and then you never get back in. It happens all the time. It happened to me. So we need to clarify first the what and the why to keep impulsive nature out of it. And then from there, remember I said this is about growth. It's not about stopping something, but it's about replacing something. What are we going to do instead? What are we going to do instead? Everything is a transition. Everything is a stepping stone to who you're meant to be. And then if we're going to make a change, then we need to do it gracefully. We need to do it graciously. We need to do it with integrity. And so the next step of this arc is to schedule it. Schedule it because sometimes we have to talk to folks to do it with from that perspective. Because then that leads to this idea of communicate. So then we get to communicate. So schedule it. Now, one of the things that one of the other reasons I want you to schedule is, look, change sometimes is scary. But the best thing you can do about your fears is to schedule your fears. Put it on the calendar. Brendan did this to me. Oh, that dude. I'm backstage with him because I'm backstage with him pretty much all the time. And I'm backstage with him at one of his events. This is before my book was out. It was before I ever did any live events. I was releasing Business Breakthrough Academy. We're going back a lot of years, over a decade. And he says, hey, you should be doing a live event. Yeah, I don't want to do live events. I don't want to do live events. He says, you don't need to do a live event. Just do me a favor. Humor me and put something on the calendar. Pick a date. That's all. Pick a date. I said, all right, I'll pick a date. So I pick a date. The next time we're backstage, the next event, and he says, did you pick a date? And I said, yeah. He says, what's the date? I still remember the date. June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And he said, beautiful. All right, cool. He says, that's like 6-8 weeks after Experts Academy. I said, yeah, I didn't want to conflict with it. I just put it in there and everything. He says, good. He says, bring a jacket to Experts Academy. You're getting on stage. You're selling the event. And I go, oh. So he scheduled the fear. He forced me to schedule the fear. And then he forced me to go communicate it to the world. Okay. And so that's the fourth step in the arc. The fifth step in the arc is this: inhibit or add friction or a boundary to make sure that you don't backslide. Okay? Do something to make it difficult for you to go backwards. Create friction in the game. Not for moving forwards, but for moving backwards. And last is to simply acknowledge the change in your life, to celebrate it, to understand that it's a gift. I look at everything that I've gone on, the bad relationships, the Ponzi scheme, the cancer, all of it. And I go, I needed all of this. It's the gift that created me. And I know that some of us might be going through a difficult time right now. I know some of us might be uncertain, might have fear, might be scared. But this is creating you. Acknowledge it, celebrate it, embrace it. Okay? This is the thing that I think we start to look at from that perspective. So what I want to do is I want to walk you through 6 things that I do want you to quit around your money, and 6 things that I want you to either start, elevate, or continue doing. All right? So here we go. On the quitting side, the first thing I want you to look at is this. I want you to stop thinking it's complicated. It's not. We need consistency. We need a savings plan. We need an investing plan, and we need to do it and stay in the game long term. It's it. We'll talk about what to start doing instead. But the second thing I want you to quit is this concept or this thought. Some of you all out there might be young. You might be in your 20s, okay? And at 61, I can call you a youngster, all right? But you might be in your 20s, and you might sit back and go, I got time. Hey, y'all, you don't have time. Time is your greatest wealth creation lever. Every dollar you put away in your 20s is going to turn into somewhere between $70 and $85 when you become 60. Think about it. $80 for every dollar. Start early and put it behind you. My son Jeremy and his wife, 32 and 30, they've got 3 homes and a multi-million-dollar net worth, and it's because they started early. They didn't look at it and say, I got time. The other thing that I want you to stop is that you might be sitting back saying, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60. I'm late. What's your alternative? To do nothing? I'm late, so guess what? I'm not going to invest. I'm not going to build wealth. I'm not going to try to find my path to financial freedom. No, you're not late. Literally. I mean, at 50 years old, you got 20 more years left. We can build wealth. But those mindsets will keep you from moving. It'll keep you from doing things. So let's quit that. Number 3. And this is a tough one. I get it. But allowing your emotions to get involved in your financial decisions. When your emotions go up, your financial intellect goes down. The reason I got caught in the Ponzi scheme is because they caught my emotions. They got into my psyche. They got into my heart. They gave me the aspiration. They looked at, I ran the numbers. I'm looking at them going, whoo, I am done. As soon as you feel the emotional tug when you make a financial decision, it's time to back off. Okay? Number 4, not having a plan. You got to have a plan. We don't just, haphazardly, we might get ourselves to financial freedom, but what would happen if you actually had a plan that's built on a system, that's built on a framework, that is proven, that is tried and true over the long term, and you just execute? Number 5, what I want you to quit is this. Trying to keep up with the Joneses. Oh my God, this goes back to my $900 coffee machine. Do not swipe on Instagram. Do not look at what other people are parading on social media channels and all that stuff as if this is the reality of their life. They may be in debt. They may be doing facades. They may be doing all kinds of things. We don't keep up with the Joneses. We're not comparing ourselves and buying things because of what other people have. Okay? And number 6, avoid destructive debt. If you are financing a lifestyle, but I get it. You may be in a situation where you need to right now. I want you to go to, and we'll make sure that we hook this up. It's completely free, melabraham.com/no debt. It's going to give you a tool that you can put your debt in and try to get yourself on a payment plan. But here's the challenge. Understand this. Feds are raising interest rates. Interest rates on credit cards are going to go up. If you're carrying balances on cards, they're going to go up. The expense is going to go up. It's going to start to choke on you if you're not careful. I want you to get rid of destructive debt. We do not finance lifestyle. We use debt to create wealth or cash flow, but not to finance lifestyle. I know it's hard for some people because of where they're at, but we just got to get a plan in place to get you out of it. Now, that being said, what should you do? What do you start doing or what do you continue doing? The first thing is this. Because if you think it's complicated, the reason is because we just got to get you guided and educated. Follow people, read books, go to my show. Get involved in your own financial journey. Okay? Make investing a priority. See, right now, there's this whole movement of YOLO, you only live once. Caution to the wind, you only live once. It's true. But how are you going to take care of yourself down the road if we don't consider what's down the road? Because it's coming. And so when we make investing a priority, what happens is that we say, all right, I'm going to make money. I'm going to invest a portion of that money based on a plan that's going to move me forward towards financial freedom. And then I'm going to build my lifestyle in today with what's left. And if we don't like what's left, then we figure out how to increase it. Okay? That leads me to number 3. We need to make financial choices from logical place, detaching it from the emotions. Detaching it from the emotions. I got to look at it. And if that means that you separate yourself from the decision and say in time and say, I'm not going to make the decision today. There are a lot of times where you get on a call and they're trying to push you into a decision, someone that tries to do that with me, 1, they'll lose the sale. 2, they'll get an education because I'm gonna work them. All right, I love negotiating. So I want you to detach yourself emotionally from the choice, because when emotions get in, we start to make bad financial decisions. Okay. Number 4, instead of not having a plan, I want you to decide for every dollar to give it a job description. Every dollar has a reason to live. It is to pay the mortgage. It is to pay the rent. It is to pay the utilities. It's to put food on the table. It's to put clothes on your back. It's to take care of medical. But what happens is that we don't assign it to them. We just haphazardly, it's in the account, and we spend it, and we go, I got more month than I have money. What happened? Some people will call this a budget. I call it a job description. We give every dollar a job description so it does the things that it's supposed to do for us today and in the future. Number 5, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Forget what's going on around you. You get to live your life. This is your daydream. This is your world. This is your stuff. Stay in your lane. And number 6 is this. Instead of destructive debt, look at ways to build an unshakable financial foundation. So it doesn't matter what's going on in the economy. I don't care if we're in a recession. I don't care if we're in a bear market, a bull market. You have a foundation to build from. We're not getting caught in meme stocks like GameStop. We're not getting caught in some crazy trend or something like that isn't sustainable for the long term. Rather, we're going to do one thing. We're going to focus, okay? And then I'm going to leave you with something else here. I want you to focus on what you want most instead of what you want now. Read that again. Focus on what you want most for what you want now. Too often, YOLO, cancel culture, the things that we're doing is focusing on what we want now. And we're sacrificing what we want most. And I think that this is the thing that we need to look at. Stay in the game. If something is aching you, figure it out. We can grow. It doesn't matter whether you're an employee, an entrepreneur, a mother, a father. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're fully invested in the game and you're living your life. And I'll leave you with this because, and it's interesting that Jenna used the word daydream. And some of you might have seen this gal. Her name's Lila. She was on America's Got Talent. And it literally just came up on my feed. And I watched it and I listened to the lyrics of an original song that she wrote. This is a woman who had a record deal. This is a woman who was going places. This is a woman whose mother got cancer and she got taken out of her record deal because she became her mother's caretaker. And now she's coming back to live her dream. And I just want to read you the chorus because I think it's so, so important. It says, darling, don't quit your daydream. It's your life that you're making. It ain't big enough if it doesn't scare the hell out of you. If it makes you nervous, it's probably worth it. Why save it for your sleep when you could be living your daydream? And I think that's the way we need to live. I think that that's the way we need to look at things. That when we look at things through the eyes through, I don't need to quit. I need to grow. I might have to change, but it's all for me to be the best me that I'm meant to be. We all have a calling. We all have a reason to be here. We've all been put here with a unique gift to give to the world, and it is on us to allow it to come out, to do the things that brings it. And even if we can't express it fully because maybe we didn't get it all done, it's in the expression alone that the joy comes from. It's in the expression alone that the richness comes from. And so I'd invite you to look through the eyes of growth versus quitting, of change versus leaving behind, and knowing that you make choices to create the you were meant to be. With that, I thank you. I sending love your way, and this is such a blessing to be here, to be able to serve, and to know that we have people like you out in the world doing great things for the world, because that's what we need. All right. So I look forward to seeing you in the app, in the Growth Day app. Let me know. Reach out to me. You can connect with me on Instagram, Mel Abraham 9. Let me know. Send me notes. I'd love to chat with you and make sure that you guys are dialed in, that you're making a difference. And if there's anything I can do to support you in this journey as we move into this season of gratitude, of love in this year and into next year. Thank you, and God bless you.